Now, I'm probably going to regret this in the morning, but I had a pretty strong reaction to the snaps from Buenos Aires today, and I made a rather hasty snap story from that. So if you saw it, hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't understand, I'll provide some context. Um, so lately, Snapchat has been focusing on cities across the country and taking, you know, videos of images and kind of giving us a little glimpse of what it's like to be from that city and what makes that city special and how people identify and what they want to share. However, if you were able to see the videos from Buenos Aires today, you probably saw a lot of white people, or people with very light complexion. And it didn't sit well with me, and so I made a very hasty snap story about that. So I'll explain where I'm coming from. In the U.S. specifically, I've had a very difficult time convincing people, not that I have to, that I am actually Argentine. And it kind of goes like, yes, I'm brown, no, I'm not Mexican, no, I'm not Bolivian, no, I'm not Peruvian, yeah, Buenos Aires, as in Tango, yeah, South America. It's exhausting and it's frustrating to have to explain why I identify the way that I do. And I shouldn't have to give a world history lesson, but sometimes I do, because it's no longer reflected in our history books, and it's not something that we discuss because it's not part of the Argentine history that we want to share. It's shameful, and it's important that we discuss it. So, for centuries, Argentina has tried to rid itself of its African slaves, their ancestors, and their contributions. They did so in various ways. So similar to the U.S., Argentina allowed, well, one, it abolished slavery in 1813, and only the children of slaves were freed. Slaves had the option of enlisting in the military and completing 5 years of service, and then they gained their freedom. However, slavery was in place and it continued to be practiced for another 40 years until 1853. And until 1853, the law had forced slave owners to give over 40% of their slaves to military service. And many of those folks never saw their freedom after 5+ years. So if you've done some digging into the U.S. Census, you've probably noticed a change in the way that people were told to identify or self-identified, if they had that option, or how they were counted. So that was a link to migratory patterns, immigration, and some really effed up legislation to take away people's power and say. And so, whether it's to include or marginalize people, these census reports significantly affect the way that the nation and then later generations see the country and see the people and see and understand what had occurred. And so in the later 1800s, there were such few Afro-Argentines that the census just completely stopped counting them. And it was there's the various reasons as to why the Afro-Argentine population had dropped significantly. It's a combination of the yellow fever, which there were a lot of impacted communities that had very little access to health care. There was the immigration of many Afro-Argentines who fled to Brazil and Uruguay to seek better living conditions. There was an influx of Europeans around the same time, and yeah, so you'd think that there weren't any Afro-Argentines in the country, but you're wrong, and there have been a lot of groups like in the 60s and 90s and today that have been trying to reclaim that Afro-Argentine history and its people. And there's an estimated of 1 million Argentines of Afro descent. And there's a lot of work, and there's a lot of great things and movements that are happening that I'm not even aware of, if you want to look into that. All to say that there is a very mixed and complex way of understanding race in Latin America, and I felt that today's snaps and videos from Buenos Aires only contributed to a historical and state-sponsored cleansing that strongly mirrors that which was pushed on in the indigenous population, which is another rant for another evening. And there's a lot more to discuss. Right now, we really should be focusing on my final of my college career, but I'd love to chat after I'm done. And there's a lot of other resources out there. I'll be linking a brief article if you're interested in reading that, and I have a copy of Edward Dish's Pigmentocracies, Ethnicity, Race, and Color in Latin America, which doesn't look specifically at Argentina, but Mexico, Colombia, Peru, and Brazil. So that's the end of my rant. I hope it was entertaining at least. Again, love to chat once I'm done the finals, but I needed to say something in response to today's Snapchat thing, and I did, and I'm good.